Really pleased to introduce Carl Lin, who I think we met in Beijing a few years ago, Carl.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
so Carl is expert in labor economics, migration, econometrics, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Well, Hong Kong is part of China now. So today it's the combination of labor economics and Taiwan, I guess, the labor market power and wage determination using data from Taiwan. So Carl, over to you. Just as Carl is sharing the screen, a reminder that please keep your microphones muted. And if you have a question, then of course, feel free to unmute and ask Carl a question. He's happy to answer them during the presentation. And secondly, that the seminar is being recorded and will be available on GLO website later this week or early next week. Okay, over to you, Carl.
Is everything looking good?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Thank you, Matloob, for inviting me for giving this talk, and also Klaus. It's been a long time. I haven't seen you in a while, and Ira and everyone. So I'm very happy to share my most recent research. Actually, I'm having my sabbatical, and so I'm currently in Taiwan. Because of my access to this special data set, I gotta be here. And the findings I'm going to show you next is pretty preliminary. So if you have any question, feel free to stop me, interrupt, no problem at all. So the title, as Matloob said, that is labor market power and wage determination. The co-authors will be Qinliang Chen, who is the professor of economics in National China University. And the other one is Jana Liu. I think she's also joining the meeting. She's now at UC Santa Cruz. Okay. And yeah, I got a quote from really famous saying by Adam Smith in about 200 years ago. He said, masters, which is employers, are always and everywhere in a sort of tacit, constant and uniform combination, not to raise the wages of labor above their actual rate. So 200 years ago, Adam Smith has observed such kind of phenomenon in the labor market. And who set your wage? So I'm going to quote from Card in his 2022 MBER working paper. He says that economists now routinely accept the prices of products are set with some degree of market power. And likewise, I'm going to ask, do many or even most firms have some wage setting power? So do you believe wages are set by the market or by the firms? Until recently, in about 5 years, economists appear not to have such direct evidence. We do have a lot of evidence from the product market. We know that monopoly tend to set the price of the product higher and much higher than the competitive market. However, we don't have such direct evidence from the labor market. And Hicks in 1932, he said a product and labor markets are perfectly competitive and wages are equated to their marginal products. Joanne Robinson in 1933, she developed a framework for understanding the firm's specific wage settings and coined the term monopoly. Okay, so our research questions are market set wages or firm set wages. According to Card in 2022, we may have reached a tipping point in the past few years to know the answer. It is driven by the combination of new, at least from the post-1930 theoretical models and newly available micro sources. So here I'm going to show you that the stagnant wages in Taiwan has been a hot debate, at least the past 10 years. So if you look at the next slides, this one is what I calculated. We calculated from the M3D Data. you see that I calculated nominal average monthly wages and also the real average monthly wages. Those people are from 16 to 64 years old, full-time, not self-employed, and the total number of observation about 12 million people, and 12 million observation about 1,836,000 individuals. And it's from 2005 and 2015. This is the data range we had access to the Taiwan administrative data. And I'm going to show introduce the Taiwan administrative data later on, but this is the very first time we had access to really look at and work on the data released by the government from several ministries. So you see that if you look at the thing we calculated from 2005, the nominal wages seems like, yes, it's increased over time, but the real wage seems like stagnant from 2005, increased 2007 and drop, fell because of the financial crisis and rebounded. And seems like the real wage growth seems stagnant in the past, at least 15 years. This has caused a lot of concern for Taiwanese people, especially young people, young workers in the island, because they feel no hope compared to the other side of the Taiwan Strait, mainland China. At the same time, their real wages has been rising so fast. So that's why compared to the young people in Taiwan, especially in the past 20 years, 15 years also, they feel really desperate to know what happened to the wage growth in Taiwan. And if you compare the survey data from the government, this is the research by the three scholars in 2017. They use the survey data from the government. It's called DGBAS from the just like from the government in 2013. And the base year is 2005. This one, the orange one, represents the real GDP per capita since 1980, about 2014. And you can see that the real GDP per capita seems to start growing from about 2002 and about here. What about the real average monthly salary of industrial and service sector? About the same time, maybe a little bit earlier. So about here, about year 2000 or the late 1990s, the real average monthly wages, salaries for the two sectors together also seems like stagnant. Okay, so most people in Taiwan, they look at this graph from the government survey data. They are wondering what happened. What happened to the wages or salary growth in Taiwan? And just a few months ago, about 1 month ago, 2 months ago, I've been working using this data about 2 years. And so this time I came back and go to the place and we're gonna calculate it using the M3D data. It contains the entire workforce in Taiwan for the private sector. So everyone you see on the street is in here. So compared with the survey data and the administrative data, we confirm the stagnant wage growth in Taiwan. So people was wondering what happened? What kind of factor, what kind of reason can explain this kind of stagnant wage growth in Taiwan? Okay, so this is the only one question, important question we try to answer. So theory, we all know that. Let me show you what happened here. Forget about this one. So yeah, I just look at the Taiwan's stagnant wage growth. So point number 4, the existing study mostly used macro level data or survey data, and their conclusions such as it probably because of globalization. So Taiwan has stagnant wage growth, maybe because of imbalanced industrial structure between manufacturing and service sector, maybe because of college expansion. So the return to education, Taiwan expanded its university and colleges in about early 2000. So a lot of, almost everyone, if you join, apply the college, you will be admitted. So the return to education began to slow down, or because of the trade with China, or the use of different deflator. Some people use GDP deflator or CPI. They got different answer for that. Or because of declined labor income share, or the gap between real wages and marginal product labor. So actually, maybe these all contribute to the stagnant wage growth in Taiwan, but I'm not really convinced by these extent study. So we seek to provide an explanation, the new one, using micro level, the so-called big data, the Taiwan and data, which is contain the entire workforce in the private sector from the labor market. And I believe, after all, wages are determined in the labor market. Okay. All right. So theory, labor market monopoly power stemming from employer concentration within local labor market deviates from the conventional view of labor market as perfectly competitive. And number two, because a small number of employers, they're bargaining with workers, the elasticity of labor supply curve faced by the single employer may be finite and wages may be set below the perfectly competitive rates. Such wage setting power employer contribute, we think, to the stagnant wage growth and individual workers' welfare loss. And theory, so I borrow the textbook from Perloff. So monopoly, and you see that the left-hand side will be less elastic supply curve. The right-hand side, panel B, will be more elastic supply curve. And we know that this point determine the competitive equilibrium, and this point determine monopoly outcome. So actually under monopoly, one single buyer in the market, the wage rate tend to be lower than the competitive market level. So that's why with a theoretical background, and what about the empirical evidence? So what we do and what we find, and we define, follow the recent literature, we define the local labor market concentration by constructing the really famous HHI, the Herfindahl-Hirschman Index, has been used a lot in industrial organization field. So the HHI, we calculated the local labor market concentration for the firm level, which is the firm employment at a region. In my case, is district, administrative district, the region, industry, year level. And our underlying assumption is that there's limited mobility of job across our definition of region and industry. And we estimate so far a panel data regression with several fixed effects. And we do find a negative relationship between concentration, local labor market concentration, and wages. So we define several different kind of HHI in terms of 2-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit, the standard industry classification codes and so forth. And because we only had access to about 12 years from 2004 and 2015, and the estimated elasticity between the HHI, the local labor market concentration index, and the real wages is about -0.04 to -0.09. That means if the HHI increased by about 10%, real wage in Taiwan would drop about 0.4% to 0.9%. And this region seems to be consistent with the range recently found in the US study is between about -0.05 and -0.15. So literature, David Carr in his 2022 MBA working paper, he discusses the recent literature and concluded that a growing consensus is that firms have some wage setting power, though many questions remain about the sources of that power. And so our research follows the following two papers, Azar et al. In their 2020-2022 with a special issue in Journal of Human Resources. They use data from online job posting platform in the US and measure labor market concentration with the HHI of job vacancy. And they do find higher concentration is associated with lower posted wages in the United States. And Danilach et al., their 2020, again, is a special issue in the human resources. They focus on US manufacturing industry and find a negative relation between local level employer concentration and also their wages. And number 4, RINs et al. Again, in that general human resources special issue, they use US administrative data and show that increased local concentration reduces earnings and increase inequality. Finally, Prager and Schmidt in 2019, they examined hospital mergers. So when 2 or 3 hospitals merged, and seems like their hospital level concentration increases, they do find evidence of reduced wage growth with their like doctors, nurses, with increased concentration reduced by large mergers. All right, so now is the data. Taiwan is a small island, which is about right here. This is mainland China. Okay, the world map. And there are 22 districts in Taiwan, and which I'm going to show you later on. And the data set is stored in the National Center for High Performance Computing at Hsinchu Science Park, which is right here, in a small room. So you got to go there, and yeah, it's very restricted area. So I'm lucky. So the reason I came to Taiwan is because I was recruited by a good project leader who is now the minister, So he and their co-author, they organize and really push forward several ministries. They can really release their data set. And this is what here, the data sources, 2004 and 2015. So there are 4 main data sources. First one is the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So the Ministry of Internal Affairs, it has household registration data, including life and death. So you do have an ID number, your national ID number is being randomized, and also the application. So you don't know who this person is. And also the gender, the sex, and also education attainment, and also year. So we do have the gender and education attainment, which is important for labor economics estimation studies. Number 2, and the Ministry of Labor, we do have labor insurance, including life and death. And again, ID number, and also birth year. So that's why we know the age. Insurance starting date, and insured salary. This one is important because no one's going to lie, because your labor insurance, your pension depends on the level you insure for your salary. So you never lied about your salary. So this is really accurate from a store in the government. And also full-time, part-time, that's also important for our study. Occupation, industry, your administration district and year. And the third one also from the Ministry of Labor is pension data, including life and death. So ID number, birth year, salary withdrawal for pension, occupation, industry, district, and year. Finally, we do have data, which is the first time the income earnings data went out of the building for the Ministry of Finance. So those people kept calling every 2 weeks because they are so nervous about who's going to release or steal the data outside and bring outside. So, okay, ID number and earnings from firm ID. So it's multiple. When I check the data, it had the data set has 52 billion records. For example, if I have 2 jobs, my main job has one from the company A, the firm A. My secondary job comes from firm number 2. So one person may have multiple earning data from different firms. And the good news is that now I know the firm ID. I know how many firms actually in Taiwan, private firms, and also bonuses, and also total income, and also year. And again, firms, ID number, and the wage payment by the firms, and also cumulative profit and loss, and current profit and loss in year. That's why we can link, actually merge the 4 data set from the government using workers' ID, okay? So we obtain individual level matched employer-employee panel data set over the 2004-15 period. Totally 860,000 observation, about 3,700,000 persons in this data set, the entire Taiwan workforce in the private sector. So nobody will be left unless you work in the public sector in the government. So this one is kind of about 22 districts. And okay, the average wages by 22 districts from 2004, 2015. And you see that, of course, the Hsinchu city has the highest average monthly salary because it's not Taipei. Taipei is the capital. It's because the high-tech firms like TSMC, ASUS, Acer, whatever, MediaTek, those kind of high-tech company, they all located in Hsinchu Science Park, which is Hsinchu City. So Hsinchu City and Hsinchu County, they are in the high-tech information technology, so they have a higher monthly salary using 275 as the base year. And Taipei is the capital, so it has the finance, insurance company, and also some kind of software technology firms in there. Okay. All right. By industry, I think this is just okay. I mean, electricity and gas supply has the highest mean salary among these industries. Okay. Followed by finance, insurance, information and communication, and also mining and quarries, and etc. All right. And this is what really interests a lot of Taiwanese people, because there's some kind of rumor saying that you don't need to study, you don't need to attend high degree because there's no use. But this average monthly salary calculated by education attainment, we do show that if you got a doctoral degree in Taiwan, you got a high salary, okay? If you do not complete your doctoral degree, it's fine. Still, you got a second high salary, followed by master degree, master incomplete, 5-year junior college and law. So this is kind of really a good evidence. When I give this talk to several other universities in Taiwan, I want to convince those students, okay, go get a degree, okay? Yeah, when you finish your degree, you got higher salary, okay? Don't trust those people saying that don't spend time get a doctoral degree or master's degree is waste of time. No. By using Taiwan and M3D data, we show this is the evidence, right? Okay, and this really show the by age cohort. We do see the age earning profile again in Taiwan using Taiwan and M3D data, and it reached about the top when you are 40 to 44 years old, and flatten out and decrease a little bit when you going to retire. You are 60 to 64 years old. So the Taiwan and M3D data also confirm the age earning profile. All right. Okay, so now is the real deal. Is about our econometric model. And so our key independent variable is the labor market concentration index. So the local labor market approach define a labor market by the combination of region, which is district. In our study, we had 22 districts, and by industry, I used 2 digits, 3 digits, and 4 digits as well, and also by year. So the HHI in region, you can see, you can regard region as district. Region R, industry I, and year T is constructed as following. So it's very standard, also used by Department of Justice in the US government. So here, S squared, this S is employment share of firm F in region R in industry I in year T, measured by the employment level of firm F divided by the total employment of all firms in the labor market, and we square them, right? All right, so, okay, so that's how we define the HHI, very standard. And now I'm going to show you the trend of the labor market concentration in Taiwan from 2004 to 2015. you can see that in 2004, using the HHI, we define local labor market concentration, the HHI of employment for each district by 3-digit standardized industry classification codes. And it's the average across district, SIC3 and year triad. So it showed the degree of labor market concentration of employers at that average workers in. So you see that in 2004, the HHI is about 0.304. And 2006, 2009, because I think in 2009, because the financial crisis, so some firm, they just forced to shut down or close. So that's why the concentration index jumped from 0.314 to 0.386. But actually, the trend is increased over time. And when you calculate it from 2004 to 2015, the increase about 11%. Okay, so actually, just like United States, from the two study, Azar and Bamalach, their study also shows that the U.S. labor market concentration increase over time. So do we find the same phenomenon in Taiwan using M3D data? Shows that the relation between labor market concentration and average wages is negative or positive. So we try to provide another explanation to the stagnant wage growth in Taiwan, right? So I quickly ran the fit plot, and also each circle represent employment for each city weighted. Okay, you see that the relationship between local labor market concentration without controlling other variables and some kind of fixed effect, just quickly run only square between HHI and log wages. We see that is negative relationship, right? Okay, summary statistics. 2004 to 2015, the age between these years, about 38 years old, and about 54% male workers, and also about 13 years of schooling. And the work experience, actually we can calculate the work experience about 18.7 years. Annual total income nominal about, this in New Taiwan dollar, about 470,000 Taiwan dollar. Okay, somebody asked a question, okay. I'm gonna answer that later on. And also a real dollar about 443,000 Taiwan dollar. And HHI about 0.333. Monthly wages nominal about 36,000 Taiwan dollar, which is about how much? 10,000? Yeah, about $10,000. And also, not $10,000, excuse me, $1,000. Firm profit, 17 in terms of, I forgot a number about a unit. All right. Okay, next. Okay, our model, very simple. We estimate a panel data regression model with fixed effect. The left-hand side will be the log of average wages of firm F in region R in industry I in year T. And our key interest variable will be the log of HHI. So that's why beta 1 is the elasticity. And alpha F is the firm fixed effect. We do have a year fixed effect and also region by year fixed effect, firm by year fixed effect. We try different models. Excuse me?
I'm actually, oh, sorry.
Yep. I heard somebody ask questions.
Sorry.
Is that all right?
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mute my mic.
Okay, so yeah, so let me continue. And I do have some control variable, and I must confess that the administrative data is really hard to have the control variable. Okay, so we have a few control variable. That's it. And in the market level and the by firm level, and standard errors are clustered at the region district level. So this is our really preliminary findings. And we have 8 different model sophistication. And just remember the estimated coefficient, these are elasticities, okay? Because dependent variable will log average wages, and we use log HHI as our independent variable. So under the 8 different model specification, we do find the local labor market concentration represented by HHI. It is negatively associated with the dependent variable log wages. So we do find evidence the more increased concentration in the labor market reduce wages. And our preferred model specification probably will be model number 8. So the elasticity will be negative 0.085, about negative 0.09. That means when the local labor market concentration increase by 10%, the average wages of Taiwanese worker will drop by 0.9%, okay? So that's what we have so far. I know you might have a lot of questions about endogeneity, but let me say that step by step. So our brief conclusion is that who set your wages? We find that Taiwanese firms have some wage setting power. So we do our evidence really support the theory and also confirm the US findings. And number 2, the estimated elasticity of labor market concentration on average wages is between negative 0.04 and negative 0.09 range. We provide a new explanation and the direct evidence to the debate on Taiwan's stagnant wage growth using micro level, the so-called big data. Yes, limitations. We cannot control for some other important factors that determine wages, such as labor productivity, because we don't have the product value. We are not focusing on manufacturing firms. So that's why we don't, it's a pity we cannot control for labor productivity. We know, yes, labor productivity is highly correlated with determining the wages. And also we cannot control for firms' exposure to trade with China. And I mean, the possible way to address such kind of indigeneity issues, we admit is not fully addressed. And I understand IV is hard to get, hard to find using administration data, especially in my case, I gotta go to one specific area and to import the verbal outside their authority, you gotta write a lot of application and it takes several weeks. So future work. Taiwan's stagnant wage growth is a complicated problem. I do believe there's no one single reason can answer it. And we provide one potential explanation. Increased labor market concentration contributed to part of it. In other project, we do examine which is a 22K program in 2009 on young workers' wages using differences and fuzzy RDD model. We showed that that program significantly reduced young workers' real wage by about 5 to 6 percentage points. Fuzzy RDD shows that similar estimate, about 7 percentage point drop. So we do find the government implemented the young worker year wages cannot be over 22,000 Taiwanese dollar. It gave an anchor effect for the firm. So since the government said that, okay, the young worker, your starting wage, entry wage is 22K, yes, we will not give you more than that. So this program was ended in 2011, but we re-examined what happened, the government policy that implemented 22K on young workers' wage. We do find it reduces young workers' wage by 5 to 7 percentage points. So we really think that this may be one of the reasons that contributed to this stagnant wage growth in Taiwan, in addition to the thing we find, the local labor market concentration. So how to address such indigeneity issues? I'm trying to use the IV, which is, I imitate the IV, which is average log of 1 over n. N will be the number of firms here, the number of firms. In other market, so this IV is really popular in industry organization field. and maybe try Ariano-bound dynamic panel method. So that's we are trying to do in the next few months. So that's all. Sorry, I don't have much to talk because this is pretty preliminary, and we really welcome any comments and suggestions to help us to improve our finding, especially this really past relevant. Thank you very much.
Right. Thanks, Carl. So just before anybody else asks any question, there is one in the chat that you already saw. So maybe if you could start with that, and then in the meantime, people can start sort of thinking about their.
Should I, Satoshi? Should I?
Satoshi, yeah, Satoshi's. Yeah, sorry.
I think it's important to know that since industry is referenced instead of occupation to major labor market concentration, it is possible that the upward trend of the major labor market concentration follows that of the product market. Yes, I agree. I agree. Good question.
Any other question?
Do you find a more negative effect for women than men? Yes, we do try. I do interact with the sex dummy variable. Yeah, we do find that, but did not show it in our presentation. Yes, very good. Thank you very much, Elena. So I do interact the HHI with the dummy. And for Maria, regarding the table result, I did not get to read the control or regressions 3 and 4. Can you explain why these regressions report lower elasticity? Okay. Model number 3 and 4. Let me go back here. Number 3 and 4. Okay.
Can you share the screen just so that everybody can?
So let me share the screen. Yeah. Always forget to do so. Yeah. Yeah. So Maria is asking. She is asking 3 and 4. Hopefully, I did not have some typos. 3 and 4.
And she says 5 also.
Yeah, 5 as well. Yeah. I wonder because of the industry year fixed effect. It's not like that. So let me go back and check. Okay, that is a good question. I don't know what I haven't thought deeply about why models 3, 4, 5 they have lower elasticity. And the control, the front level control only has the profit, and also I imported minimum wages in Taiwan, so we don't have many control variable in this M3D data. Thank you. If any other people can help me answer.
Yeah, sorry. Anybody wants to comment on that particular part?
Well, the region year fixed effects come in, no?
Yeah.
This is a explanation or not? Maybe not.
Because the industry fixed effect, they come in that making.
Yeah, but in tables in column 7, it's taken out. So it's what is consistently in is region year fixed effects.
Yeah.
Maybe that is doing it, maybe not. Okay, just speculation.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I'm going to think hard about it. Thank you, Klaus.
Okay.
Well, there is a question by Sergio again in the chat.
Sergio says that to follow Satoshi's question comment, and maybe I missed its mention in your presentation, could say why you define HHI based on interest rather than occupation. Good point, because of time. I'm going to do occupation next. Thank you. Yeah.
And John has a question following thread.
And John, can you show the slide on HHI over time? There were some big changes year by year, like 2009. Can we talk about that? Yes, of course. So let me.
Maybe you keep sharing all the slides so people might have others.
So let me, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, this is the labor market concentration.
So it just looks like there's really big changes, which is something I would not expect given the number of observations. And I think you need to talk about sort of why these changes would be so large. So you did talk about 2009, which kind of made sense, but what's going on in 2006?
I'm not sure, so I'll go back and look at it. Yeah,
because I'm just thinking that like this is your main variable that you care most about. Yeah. And so I think you need to give us a little bit of intuition as to what's going on over time. Like there may be some, specific changes in legislation that, just as you say, will change sort of certain things and or certain historical events. But it just seems that with a full economy, you've got all the information. I would have expected to see much smaller changes. And so I think you really want to make sure that you know what's going on there and have a good explanation for that. I'm not suggesting that anything is wrong. Yeah. It's more of just being able to, give a good explanation as to what's going on for the intuition.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, John. That's a good point. Yeah.
Can you also say how many separate industry, region, HHI values there are? Like how many discrete values are there of the HHI?
Discrete values?
Yeah, so how many HHI values are there in the data set? There's one for every industry, region, year.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
And so how many discrete values are there? Is there like 100 per year, or 1,000 or 100,000, or what would it be?
So let me check the code quickly. Yeah, I gotta.
Just a ballpark figure. I don't know. Like
it's about more than 200, 300 per year.
Okay.
It's 22 district in a year, and also the 3-digit. How many? Okay, let me check.
Right. Okay. So something around. So there should be a fair amount of variation there.
Yeah.
And each one of these HHIs is measured very precisely, right? It's based on hundreds or tens of thousands of observations, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question? Carl, in some studies, people believe that the industry that is high productive, that sets the standard for wage setting. It means if they are high productive and they pay lower wages, so this means wage growth becomes stagnant. Alternatively, they could also set a high standard that leads to everyone else has to follow their standard. So is it the cause of the stagnant wage growth or not?
That's a good point. Actually, the paper I introduced by the three scholars in 2017, which is, let me show you this one. Where is it? This one by Lin, Cheng, and Liu. Their paper, I think this is probably the most convincing paper they published in 2017 using the government survey data. They do show that the Taiwanese worker, their labor productivity seems like in the manufacturing sector catch up with their wage growth, but not a service sector. So to answer your question, I hope I can have data to control for labor productivity, but that's not possible for this data set. So like I said, using this kind of data set, I have a hard time to figure out which way can address this kind of indigeneity, even by using the IV, follow the literature, or using the dynamic panel method, Ariano bomb. So this is what we are going to do next.
How about using the average, looking at average wage by industry sectors to see, for instance, if the chip industry that has been the most attractive in the world, if they had systematically higher wage and that led to like affecting flow of labor to that sector, education, and also pushing other industry sectors or not.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'll put it down and I'll try to investigate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there's a question from Sarah. It's basically, yeah, Sarah, go ahead if you want to.
Yeah, so first, wow, this is an amazing data set. It's pretty unbelievable how much information you have. So I was just curious, and it's actually linked to one of the previous questions of thinking about like the sources of variation, because the 22 regions, and you talked about Taiwan being a small island. So I was just curious, is it, thinking about what a local labor market is, the 22 regions, like, is that the right way to divide this up? Or any of them close enough to each other that they would be considered one labor market?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And actually, if you look at a map of this small island, so we think this kind of interesting example, because the new study just published this year, 2022, they are all in the United States, a big country, open economy. Taiwan is small, open economy. So we also find similar phenomena, and they are naked related. If you look at a map, actually the result I just shown, and if you look at a really interesting map, sorry, this one. Actually, for the map, this is mainland China, okay? And this is Xiamen. And Taiwan control several small islands. This is called Matloob, also controlled by Taiwan. And it's called Kinmoy or Kinmen, also controlled by Taiwan. It's about 2 kilometers from Xiamen. Actually, I served my military service in this small island, okay? And we do control some small island, the Penghu Island, and another small island right here. And the whole data set, the 22 district included the 3. So actually, I might want to eliminate the 3 small regions from the market. And also, I try to separate the north, the center, and the south, and also the east. And maybe just get rid of the small islands, and also the east part is considered far away, the remote rural area in Taiwan, because the central mountain right here separate the island into 2 halves. The west part is considered more prosperous, and the east part is not. So maybe I will just focus on the east part of the island. Maybe. Thank you. This is good point. Thank you.
John has a follow-up question from before, I think. John, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. I'm just thinking, I mean, you've got these millions of observations, and you're only looking at averages. I'm just thinking that is just begging to be looked at across the distribution. And so I'm thinking there's going to be differential effects, like in the low, the left tail of the distribution compared to the high tail. And I think that's following up what Almas was talking about, sort of the relative power. And so there may be massively differential effects between the right and the left tail, and they're all sort of averaging out in the middle. But I think there's going to be real stories looking at this across the distribution.
Yeah, I fully agree. Thank you. This great suggestion. Thank you, John. I'll look at the distribution instead of the mean.
And then you probably want to look at, like unconditional quantile regression or something like that.
Yes. So Ira, how mobile is labor across Taiwan? Good point. Well, our underlying assumption is that there is limited mobility across region and industry. Yeah. How mobile? It's not, so we try to test by the north, the center, the central, and the south. So instead of using a 22 administrative district, and to show the robustness of the check, actually in Taipei or New Taipei City, the mobility is quite a lot. People live in New Taipei City and work in Taipei City, and after work they come home across the river, across the bridge. So this is a good point. Thank you, Ira. And we do thought of this point, so we are really using commuting zone instead of district.
One more question in the chat, Carl.
Following John's remark, perhaps division between education groups will give interesting results. Yes, we thought about that. Yeah, I thought about that. And better educated individuals are probably less restricted by firm weight setting power. Yeah. Thank you. Good point. Will do.
Any more questions, suggestions? Elena says across industries too, different effects.
Yeah, so we define HHI using 2-digit, 3-digit, and 4-digit. So try to reduce the concern. People move between different industry. So we thought about that. That's a good point. Thank you, Elena.
Any other suggestions, points, questions, comments? Okay, I think that's we've exhausted quite a lot of suggestions, Carl, from people. So thank you again so much for the presentation. Very interesting paper, and obviously really good data set as well to explore a number of things. So thank you again for giving the seminar, and thank you for everybody for attending and asking questions and giving suggestions to Carl. I'm sure Carl will be busy summer over the next few months. You can implement all of these things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that's the reason I want to give a seminar and gather a lot of suggestion, comment from the world. So that's the best part of doing so. Thank you so much. Especially this on the early stage of the research. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Very well. Well done. Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you all next month, hopefully.